your opening comments. So, are you satisfied with the way things have moved in the first phase?
See, Kartikeya, at top of everything, what matters in Bihar is you have to choose between two options. One, which you saw for 15 years, other, which you are seeing for 20 years. Anyone and everyone needs a safe life and development around them. That's it. On top of everything, safety of life and development around you matters. And this is what is driving force for us and our victory. We are going to have a landslide victory. NDA is going to come with clear-cut two-third majority.
So NDA is going to have a landslide victory. Now, Chitra, you respond. BJP spokesperson says that they are going to have a landslide victory. So it's not a close shot at all.
Well,
Chitra.
you know what? Yesterday, if you would have seen Rahulji's presentation on vote chori, he showed a snippet of Naib Singh Saini also saying that हमारे पास सब व्यवस्था है and हम ही जीतेंगे. So I think this confidence also stems from that fact itself. We are just hoping that these Bihar assembly elections are going to be conducted in a fair manner. And if that happens, then I'm certain that 20 Saal Vinash Kal will be overthrown, and this time the Badlav is going to happen, and the change is going to happen, and a new revolution, a new age of politics will be witnessed in Bihar.
KV, does this really work? Every time say the elections are not fair, does it really work for the principal opposition party right when the voting is taking place that, I hope the elections are fair? Does it send the right message across?
Certainly not. Certainly not. The fact is, it has come just a day before a very important
Absolutely.
vote. It sends a different kind of a signal. But why they choose to say, when they choose to say, again, it's their political call. Probably they do send something out of it and try and build something, because let us also remember this is not the first time that something like this is coming out. Probably he was they have been talking about it. But I want to bring you to this other point which you've been talking about. Okay. I remember around the turn of century, 2000, Bihar had three major political players who were challenging challenging Lalu Prasad Yadav. One was Nitish Kumar, one was Mr. Ramvilas Paswan, third was Sharad Yadav. All three belonged to the Janata Dal socialist camp. And of the three, two are no longer with us today. And of them, only one's legacy is trying to regain or retain an element of that kind of a thing, and that is Chirag Paswan trying to keep that LJP, which again has not been the same LJP his father had founded, because the party itself has split. Whether or not politically they've done well is a separate issue. But if you look at the larger politics that has emerged out of it, is everybody is trying to, except Nitish. Probably Nitish has never played out his caste per se. The rest have used that kind of as a plank to launch themselves. Whether they're successful or not politically is for us to see all the time.
But he made his politics caste agnostic. Caste is there, but he went beyond the caste now.
I think he was one of the first one to go for this women as a big caste chunk. I mean, if you can call it a caste.
So
like
2005. Sorry. 2005 was the time when they realized that Nitish could go beyond caste.
But there is also one aspect, Smita, if you would have read the national newspaper, the direct benefit transfers to women in this country has risen from 0.2% to 0.5%. I really don't want to get into the debate whether it's right or not, but the fact of the matter is, it's 0.5% of the Indian GDP, and it's not less. It has become unsustainable in most of the states, these DBTs. I'm not asking this question to you as a woman journalist, but how long can we continue to stretch this sort of a beneficiary politics?
Yes, I agree with you. And the questions have already started being raised. Even though it is not even 5 years old, this giving cash to people, whether it is women or any other segment of the population, sending them cash directly, which is going to give you no return. And what happens is there is then competitive announcement. Okay, yes. Tejasvi Yadav, who had promised 2,500 per month to the eligible women, had to suddenly, on the last day of the campaign, come down and say that, okay, we'll transfer it in one go on Makar Sankranti, that is 30,000 rupees for the whole year. Now, can you imagine how much that is going to cost the government in one day, one single day? And why did he do it? Because he must have got the message that the 10,000, the 10,000 scheme, as Sir was saying just now, has gone down very well with the women. So yes, money in the hands of somebody's pockets, especially in the pockets of women folk, is always an empowerment, because still in states like in Bihar, what happens is, for a very large section of the population, the women, even those who come from well-to-do families, forget about the social communities. Even in well-to-do families, the women by themselves do not have much money in their hand, okay? And there will always be some things they want to do, whether it is personal expenses. If it is an elderly woman, she wants to buy something for her grandchild. She wants to gift something to her daughter. But, she always has to look at the men folk. वो पुरुषों का मुंह देखना पड़ता है.
बिल्कुल.
Even for the smallest needs. So money in the hands of the woman is a very, very effective tool to create trust in them. And I also agree that women as a voting community, women as an electoral power, have been too long ignored in this country, just voting blindly for whoever the men told them to vote. And during the Lalu Rabdi regime, I am a witness, women didn't even go out to vote, because even men hardly went out to vote. Such was the situation.
No, I completely agree with you.
They are feeling empowered, but as we are seeing in Maharashtra, in Karnataka, it may happen in the coming days in Himachal. What I'm seeing is, yes, today or tomorrow, governments will have to confront this question, and they will have to find ways to make this money in such a way that you give it as an incentive, which empowers the woman to earn money, to make herself economically empowered. What that will do is, it will become an asset creation, okay? It will not just remain a bakshish, it will become an asset creation. She will use that money to invest it, to make money for herself, for her
this
family.
Really,
And
this is the
if
most fundamental point,
Just one line, Kartikeya. If you turn that money into asset creation, first for the woman and then for the society at large, this is what the Jivika entails to do. Do you know what Jivika women mostly do in Bihar? They make artifacts and things and activities which are traditional skills which we all used to learn at home, but they didn't know that it could be monetized. She didn't know that painting the cushion covers and the bed sheets could actually get her money. Today, she is getting money. It has transformed her personality. It has made her confident. Now she can think of little more. So yes, the economic sustainability of these schemes will have to be assessed today or tomorrow. It cannot go on forever. But if we reframe them, if we give this money as an incentive to create more wealth, which will empower the beneficiary as well as the state. Today, Jivika has not only empowered the Jivika members, it is also empowering Bihar. Today, you are finding artifacts made from Bihar, not only in India, even abroad, if the marketing is done well. So let us think new. And you see, with the competitive populism going on, I don't think anybody will stop it. In fact, it will get bigger. So yes, one day we will have to confront this question. And I think the time is now.